I'm Cate Steane. Good morning. Many people think that the fight for marriage equality spanned 11 years, from 2004, when San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom presided over our first government-recognized wedding of a lesbian couple, to the day in 2015 when the second of two Supreme Court rulings came down legalizing same-sex marriage in all states. To help people understand all that happened before that, I created this board game with squares showing moments in the history of marriage equality. You roll dice and move your token to a square. Depending on whether the event was a win, a loss, or a stalemate, you move forward, move back, or stay put and lose your turn. In fact, the fight started in 1971, when the Gay Activist Alliance first demanded marriage rights for same-sex couples. The ensuing 4 decades were a slog of defeats, victories, defeats, a few more defeats, and then an acceleration of wins toward the end. It was only when that acceleration of wins started that people outside the community started to notice that it was happening. I remember my volunteer work for the Lambda Legal Defense as a young lawyer in the 1980s. In those days, we were working simply to not lose our jobs or our housing for being gay, and then not to get thrown into concentration camps for being HIV positive. It was inconceivable to me then that my colleague at Lambda would become an appellate court justice who, in 2014, would officiate at my legally recognized wedding to the love of my life. It's a common pattern in social justice struggles. There are decades of struggle with a lot of defeats and a few small wins before a tipping point is reached, when rapid, irreversible, and self-perpetuating change happens. I mean, think of the civil rights movement. As far as most white people knew, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery in 1955. There was a big demonstration in Washington in 1963, and then the Civil Rights Act was signed into law in 1964. In fact, the first Supreme Court civil rights case was heard in 1857. And there was a long struggle in the courts, in the streets, and in society that led up to those headline moments. And the struggle continues today as the legislative promises of the 1960s go unfulfilled. When you're in the midst of that slog, it can feel hopeless. Certainly not every social movement has ultimately been successful. But if you have structure, maintain the discipline of nonviolence, and offer clear, achievable goals, chances are good that you will succeed in the long run. Now, about that long run, given the urgency of the challenges we face today, we need to speed up that slog to the tipping point. At least 107 years for civil rights, 44 years for marriage equality. We don't have that kind of time to reverse climate change, defeat fascism, end the housing crisis, or achieve racial and economic justice. But we can find inspiration in knowing that our actions that lead up to the tipping point matter. Keep going. Remember our special music from a few weeks ago. Believe in the sun even when it's not shining. Believe in love even when you can't feel it. Because like the game board says, in the end, love wins.